You wouldn't settle for that. No, you're too wise for that. But you won't pursue anything that affects your soul, even though you don't know one stinking person that's lived forever. They're all in the grave. Go out to Oak Ridge and walk around and see what they're doing out there. See how many of them are standing on top of their graves today. They aren't. Where are they? I don't know. You don't know. Where do you think they might be? I don't know. Have you ever given it any thought? No. I try not to think about it. Have you investigated it? No. I know some people are interested in that, but my theory is, que sera, sera. You get Doris Day as your theologian. Que sera, sera. She's saying, what will be, will be. And I meet guys who are bank presidents and own 25 banks, and the guy gives me Doris Day for his philosophy for life. Que sera, sera. When I look at him, I always say to him, the writer of Ecclesiastes said we're madmen. I know Mark Twain thought we were, Thoreau thought we were. The writer of Ecclesiastes was right. You're a madman. If I wasn't convinced that human beings are mad, I would be after I met you tonight and had dinner with you. There's something wrong with your thinking. Folks, I was a madman all my life. Thankfully, by grace, God changed my thinking. I'm asking you to examine whether you're a crazy person who isn't dealing with these things. Oh, you'll worry about all of your taxes and your financial statements, but you won't worry about your eternal soul. That makes you a genius in your eyes. It makes you some sort of a fool in my eyes that's grander. They ought to erect a statue to you. We ought to have a statue right out in front of Abraham Lincoln's statue, just memorializing your idiocy, if you think like that. Now, does that sound hard? I tell you what, you're a hard case to deal with. I certainly was. If I thought I could shoot nice things at you, just little pellet guns off your forehead and get you to listen, I'd do it. But I'm bringing out the tanks because you're an idiot. You won't even consider that you have an eternal soul. Please, wake up. It's all vanity. We have everybody telling us this, including the inspired scriptures. And here's what it is. It has always been in ancient times before us. There's no remembrance of former things, any merely former people. Nor will there be any remembrance of things to come by those who come after. 40 years ago, I knew some great men. Nobody remembers them but me anymore. If you're a great man, 40 years from now, nobody will remember you. I went to the merchandise mart yesterday, saw the heads of all those guys who formed the merchandise mart. I was talking to a very bright lady about them, and she thought the guy's name was not Montgomery Ward, but Monkey Wards, because she heard people describe it disparagingly like that. Here he is with his little bald dome up there on top of some monument outside the merchandise mart. And I thought, oh, that poor rascal, wherever he is in eternity, I bet he hates every time he hears somebody misstate his name in such a terrible fashion. Yeah, you want people to remember you. Well, they won't. They don't remember Marshall Field. They don't remember, they won't even remember the President Taft, for heaven's sakes. I listened to these young guys talking in a Blueprint yesterday. It's called a place called Blueprint in Chicago. They didn't know who President Taft was. I'm telling you, folks, if you're very vain if you think your accomplishments in this world are going to mean anything 40 years from now. They won't. When we come back, I'm going to have Max read you a little more discouraging news from the book of Ecclesiastes, trying to ruin. Remember, our goal today is to ruin your dream of a good life in this world. I hope we're getting somewhere with that.
For in much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow.
I had Max read that passage from chapter 1 of Ecclesiastes, verse 18. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. Because previously the writer had said, it's all a grasping for the wind. If you've ever tried to grasp wind, you know it's how silly it sounds. But he says, hoping to find happiness in this world, you'd be wiser to go out and try to grab the wind. Go ahead. Try that. That would be a fruitless exercise, but so is trying to find happiness or true meaning in this world. Your true meaning is in another world where there's heaven or hell, there's no escaping it. I read something the other day by T.S. Eliot where he said, you can lay it out any way you want, but it all boils down to this. There's a struggle between good and evil. Everything falls under those things if you have any kind of philosophical thinking about you. It's all boiled down to this, good and evil. It's all vain here in this world. Now, I can keep trying to ruin this dream for you if you keep arguing with me about it and insisting that you're going to be the exception. If the Bible says, in God's presence is fullness of joy, at his right hand are pleasures forevermore, I accept that. It makes sense to me. I'd buy it. Even if I didn't know it was true, I'd buy it. You know why? I know it's not true here. There's no real joy here. There's no lasting pleasure here. The minute I have a pleasure, I have to find another one. I'm out of it. Time goes by. In eternity, since there is no time, joy can be forever. It can be abiding. If you still think this world is permanent, if you still think this is home, you're a very dull person. There's nothing in your history, nothing in your experience, nothing in mankind's history, nothing in mankind's experience to teach you that. Yet you're doggedly determined to stick to your guns. As I say, I meet people who own things in 5 different countries on this planet, and they give me that same nonsense as the guy does at the D&J Cafe. Well, Bill, I'm just going to see how it works out. Well, let me write that down. There's one sharp cookie. I don't care if you make $9,000 a year or $9 million a year. That's stupid. You understand? You haven't thought this through. That's stupid. It's foolish. And you're about to lose your soul over it. And you're going to do it with that posture where you fold your arms and give me that smugness. And I'm supposed to be impressed. Well, I'm not. You know why? I was a moron just like you. And I've known a lot of morons. All the people I knew when I was growing up are either morons, what I called mopes, who are unthinking, or maniacs. Everybody except my mother, basically. And I was the biggest moron. You just can't believe how stupid I was in going through this world. But by the grace of God, I changed from being a moron to being a disciple. I want the same for you before it's too late. There's a grave out there at Oak Ridge. I can see it open right now. It's got your name on the tombstone, and you're only a step away from it. I don't know why you can't see it, but I can see it. I see my own plainly, and I'm kind of glad I do, because this world is a dangerous place. This world's a disappointing place, and I'm anxious to go to the one where I'll never be disappointed and where my Savior is. And I want the same thing for you. In Pilgrim's Progress, Bunyan describes the world this way. Now listen and see if he doesn't know this world. And remember, this is nearly 400 years ago. It's contrived here to set up a fair, be sold all sorts of vanity, and it should last all year long, forever, till this world dies. Therefore, at this fair are all such merchandise sold as houses and lands, trades, places. Aren't we all assuring each other how really important what we do are? I can't tell you the times I've had conversations with people in my life where I've said and pointed at them and said, listen, I want you to understand the gravity of this situation. And I'm talking not about eternal things. I'm talking about whether or not we bought a piece of property. Come on, what was I thinking? You understand, that's vanity. It's light as the wind. Who cares whether... I've owned some homes in my day, and when I drive by them, none of them wave to me and say, hi, Bill, we miss you. They don't miss me. They don't know me. They don't care, and they'll all outlive me. It's amazing. You think you're doing something important in this world? You are not. Trust me. Therefore, at this fair, we have this: honors, preferments, titles, countries and kingdoms, lusts, pleasures, delights of all sorts, whores, bawds, wives, husbands, children, masters, servants, lives, blood, bodies, souls, silver, gold, pearls, precious stones. We have everything. What not? Oh yeah, we all want to gather up those precious things. And it's sort of like a story I heard once about an African chieftain who came to the United States, and I don't know what he was doing here, but he came with a group, and he came off, and he saw something he wanted really badly on the street, like a coat or something. And he went up to the guy, and he reached in his bag and pulled out a bunch of beads. And they had little, like, carvings of camels. And he handed them to the guy. And the guy said, I don't want those. The guy kept shoving them to him. Why? In Africa, those carved beads could have bought him a dozen camels. Here, the guy laughed at him. The crowd laughed at him. It couldn't buy him a lousy second-hand coat. It is not what we use as currency here. But you're just as foolish, and so am I. Here's how we do it. We come to thinking about eternity, and we say, if I could just make a bunch of money, then what I would do is I would give it all to God. You think that U.S. currency is spendable in heaven, do you? You think God cares about U.S. currency? You think he hasn't seen Roman currency? Come on. We've got to get to thinking better, folks. Now, this show is time to wind up. I'm trying to ruin your dream of life in this world. Remember that. Now, if it's still hanging on, if I haven't been able to slit its throat yet or suffocate it, tune in next week and I'll give it another go and try to give it a beating to where you can't stand to have a dream about life in this world. Thanks.
As I traveled on my journey, few and far between, were the pilgrims I found faithful to their loving King. Soon I overtook a young man walking in the way, and I could see within his eyes that he was there to stay. He was faithful as a brother, he was faithful as a friend, looking for a lasting city, faithful to the end. Even when the road grew rugged and the sky turned black, trusting in his King, he had no thought of turning back. In the midst of persecution, with his dying breath, magnified